Hetepu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Qesankh Kaparu with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to fall in love just like in the movies. But before I broach that subject, I want you to hit the like button on this video. And if this is your first time to my channel, hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. Make sure you do this because YouTube is not sending out notifications like they used to when I go live. Also, if you're interested in knowing more about my spiritual teachings, you can scroll down below and click on any one of the 4 ebooks. You can download them. They're absolutely free. Start reading today. However, if you want to take that next level and go down the rabbit hole, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. It's up to you. You will get exclusive, unfettered access to instructional videos on the esoteric, videos that will teach you how to communicate with interdimensional beings, how to astral project, how to lucid dream, how to contact the ancestors, find out what your destiny is. And if you are an Osera level supporter, you will get your oracle readings for free. Last but not least, share this video with friends and family members so we can get this word out. And if they're not interested in them, forget it then. Move on. You don't have to drag them. You know, you can, what does this say? You can take a horse to a well, but you can't make them drink. All right. Haru Nefer, Grand Rising. Namaste. How are you? This is Qesankh Kaparu, back again from the hospital. Went in twice. And, you know, I love it when I encounter good doctors. The second time I went in, I was really in a lot of pain. And the doctor came in and she looked a bit rugged. You know what I mean? She's an Indian young, well, she's, compare it to me. I'm a very old soul. I've been incarnating many times, but she was seemed like a very middle-aged petite doctor. She's Indian, and you're gonna love this. I went in, I was in a lot of pain, and she said, you know, we just saw your record, you just came in, you still in pain? I go, yeah, man. So we went over the same things, like what did I eat anything different, what was going on? And she says, okay, we'll take care of you. And she walked away, and I got a bit nervous because I was like, okay, because I was in immediate pain and I needed something. So I told her, I said, you know, are you going to do anything about this pain I'm in right now? She says, oh, we have something for you. And she mentioned the name of the medication. I'm not going to tell you what it is. So anyway, they took me to get some blood work. And this, I think she's Thai, this young Thai woman who's non-binary. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that because this is very confusing with this non-binary stuff, you know? So her and I had an excellent rapport because we were both very sexy. We were both very cute, you know? And if I wasn't so much in pain, I would ask her out, you know? But I was, you know, even though I had the inclination to ask her out, I was still reluctant because I was trying to decide, is this a guy or a girl? She had the most amazing eyes too. So she was training a student who, and they were trying to just draw my blood. And I told her, I said, listen, for all of my life, I've had problems with doctors drawing blood. The best way to go about it is to use that machine that gives you kind of like an X-ray view of where my veins are, because not only is it hard to find my veins, but my veins move. And I'm telling you, throughout my entire life, I've had so much difficulty with doctors trying to draw blood or put an IV in me. So she says, don't worry, I'll find it. And I was like, well, the last time I was here, I bet that person they couldn't find it. And I won the bet, you know? So I told her, do you want to bet? So she spent a really long time trying to find my vein. Eventually, she found it because she didn't want to lose the bet. And she's like, "Yeah, I won. You owe me $100." I was like, "Wait, whoa, 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 whoa! What $100? Where are you coming from with that? We didn't say anything in terms of exact monetary figure, you know." Um, but her assistant said, yeah, she doesn't give up. I said, oh, okay, it is a girl. So I was thinking, okay, I'm cool. It is a girl. I was wondering because, you look at somebody that's attractive and your hormones start going, and then you're like, wait a minute, hold up. Because I remember seeing this transgender person. It was a man transitioned to a woman, and my God, did that man look good? I was like, wow, look at these surgeries. Look at how far we've come. Because I would never think that was a man until, well, obviously she needs or he needs to work on their voice because it was very deep. So that kind of gave it all away, But anyway, I digress. So I'm in the hospital, and the nurse comes over, and he's a really cool dude. We start exchanging pleasantries, and we start talking about Greek and Roman mythology, which is really cool. And he was like, oh, yeah, she's ordered a lot of medicine for you. I said, really? So next thing I know, I'm getting IVs, I'm getting shots, I'm getting pills. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stuff she's giving me. She says, oh, wait, the really powerful thing is yet to come. I have to order it and have to deliver it from down upstairs. I'm like, great. I'm going to sit here in pain and have to wait for this sucker. So I'm waiting and waiting. And then his shift is over. So he says, hey, take it easy. Goodbye, Qesankh. And the other woman comes on, and she's a really nice pregnant woman. And I told her, hey, I'm still waiting for that medication, because I am just dying here in pain. She says, I will check on it for now. So she goes and she actually gets it. But as she's opening it, she can't really open it for some reason. It's very difficult. Then she realizes that the doctor had ordered 2 pills, not just one. So she has to go back upstairs and get the other pill, come down. I didn't know they were pills. She says, okay, you need to put these pills under your tongue. I said, okay. So I think she walks away, and then my doctor shows up. She's like, look, I apologize. It took them so long to get you your medication. I said, yeah, but you know what? Is this going to help with my pain? She goes, oh, yeah, there's stuff in there that will eliminate the pain. I said, really? Okay. So I put the 2 pills under my tongue. And then she starts talking about me having to check into I have to stay overnight. They want to put a camera down my throat. They want to do all this and all that, right? So anyway, eventually it turns out that they don't want to keep me to do the whole camera thing down my throat, I was okay with that. So they wanted me to go home, and they gave me a letter saying that I could not work for 3 days because I had serious heart issues. So I go home, and I remember as I'm driving, something hits me. I'm driving, not literally, figuratively. And it's like, just a little feeling like, I feel very positive. I feel that was a good hospital. That was a, because I love it when the doctors really explain things to you. The RNs are friendly, and the people are they really care about your health. So I get home, and I get on my computer. First, I feed my ferrets. Got to feed the ferrets because they'll freak out if you don't feed them. So I get home, and I sit down at my computer, and I start to work on my script. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. And I'm typing on my computer like this. And all of a sudden, it hits me like a freaking brick wall. Boom. Holy cow. This is how it happens. I'm typing, boom. I felt this feeling, this sensation of pleasure. And all the pain in my body just disappeared. And it was the most pleasurable, etheric moment of my life. I'm sitting there and I'm just smiling, going, what did that doctor give me? Because it feels so darn good. And just when I think I couldn't get any higher, the second wave hits, boom. And then I look like a crack addict. I do. I'm typing and I'm doing this. I am literally zoning out. And I catch myself, oh, where am I? Oh, move. And I'm seeing gardens and butterflies and unicorns. It's like the greatest feeling of my life. And I'm like, wow, this is the most awesome. What was that? Did y'all see that? What the heck was that? It was like, I just think I saw like, did you see that? It was like an apparition just come down. I'm going to rewind this and have to see that again. That was weird. Anyway, the most pleasurable feeling of my life. I couldn't believe it. I was just in heaven. And it lasted the entire night. And it even lasted till the morning. I got up and I was still smiling. And I was like, let me Google this medication and see what this thing is. And I Googled it and I found out what it was. And I was like, boy, this could cure war. If you give everybody one of these tablets, no one wants to go to war. They would not want to go to war. I'm like, this is something great. I'm like, but then I read it's habit forming, it's addictive, and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, great. It was awesome though. I mean, I've never taken drugs, but that was the experience of a lifetime. And I mean, no pain whatsoever, man. I was like, wow. And I had such clarity of thought, clarity of mind, it was cool. Anyway, so that was that. But I'm under no illusion because I know my pain will return after this medication wears off, and we'll still have to discuss ways to deal with that. But in any event, I am out and I'm ready to do some business. Hopefully. All right. Also, I want to let you know I just finished my 13th revision to my script companion. So we've been rewriting it. So I think I have the final draft to where I'm really, really happy. And if you are interested in reading it and providing feedback, I would love it. You can just send me an email and say, Qesankh, I'd love to read your script. I will put my email address in the chat box so that you guys have it. So just send me an email. Not everybody I'll choose to let them read it. Only certain people who I feel your feedback is on point. You know what I mean? Because there's certain people who they don't know how to give constructive feedback or constructive criticism. So if you're interested in reading the script Companion, so Companion is basically about a new AI, artificial intelligence that's created. And this AI is one that's going to heal the world. But unfortunately, it has its own plans in mind. And I'll leave it at that, okay? It's a script that it's a dark comedy. So it has a lot of comedic elements in it, So again, it's called Companion. If you are interested in reading it, send me an email and we can talk, So let's get down to business. How to fall in love, just like in the movies. It was fascinating when I went through priesthood and I started to understand this whole concept of love, of courtship, of mating. The priesthood gave me just a total different perspective on this from Western society. And one of the things Western society is trying to do is it's trying to make everything homogeneous or try to get every other culture to fit within their framework. And that's exactly what you don't want, because Western culture perspective is based on left brain segregated thought process, which is corrupt. The ruling elite, the individuals that are in power in your Fortune 500 companies are psychopaths, and their thinking is so messed up. They can't do anything right, you see, because their thinking is more of contradictory. They don't see how two things can be part of a whole. They only see two things as contradictory to one another. See, our ancestors, when you look at the Hindu religion, you look at the Buddhists, you look at the Kemetic spiritual traditions, everything had a place, you see, and the individual pieces were part of a whole, and nothing contradicted each other. But in Western society, they teach you in the universities, which is why the universities are really just messed up teachings, the idea of opposites, the idea of opposing elements. This is gone on by the Hegelian dialectic when you have your thesis and your antithesis. So you're already setting yourself up that there's an evil aspect that you must oppose. There is no evil. It's only things that help serve to further you, help you grow. That comes out of the story of the ancient Kemetic story of Asar and Set. Because Haru did not kill Set. He understood Set had a place in the whole. But in Western society, they have this thing about good versus evil, manifest destiny. And that manifest destiny has corrupted and messed the religions, the Christian religions in particular, up, because it's allowed them to commit all kinds of atrocities under the name of God. Because they could not see how everything was one and how one could not exist without the other. And they're still trying to do it. They're still trying to wipe out people of color on the planet with the idea that the white oligarchy can remain in power without these diverse aspects and diverse perspectives. See, God made the individual races for survival purposes. Because when there is different perspective, different races, different chemistry, DNA, you have a better chance of the human species surviving if there's an outbreak of a virus or something. It may kill off one race, but the others will survive. And that's the point of diversity, to ensuring that the whole survives, or some aspects of it to live on. Without diversity, we could be wiped out quickly. But because of diversity, certain things don't affect us. Europeans are not, they're not a health risk with salt, but African Americans are. Variation, diversity. I want you to understand that. Now, as I was learning about the aspect of courtship, when I look at today's modern media, and I'm going to say media in the sense of online media, where you have your YouTube influencers out there who have these channels, and these channels are meant to be awakening you. I think it's called either red pill or blue pill, the manosphere, men going their own way, however you want to put it. The one thing that I noticed, and there's too much of this, there's this, because it's like a gold mine to some, everybody's channel now is about relationships, and people who have no experience in relationships are giving advice. So I don't know, it's rather disgusting how one guy's channel was originally about finance. Now he's changed it to relationship advice. Another guy's channel, he's a lawyer, about legal advice. Now he's changed it to a relationship channel because everybody's trying to get a piece of that pie that was left over by Kevin Samuels. So people are now saturating the market. And every time you turn to these influencers, it's all about the same rhetoric about why can't we get along? Why is it there this gender war? And they purposely keep it going to make money off of it. See, this gender war was started by the white oligarchy to destroy and disrupt Black relationships, to reduce the population of ADOS, so African American people in this country, by destroying their relationships. And they have been successful at it thus far. When you look at the abortion rate among Black women, you look at 20 million since 1973, 20 million abortions. Those numbers cannot be replaced. 20 million aborted babies. So when I see these channels, it's very interesting. And in fact, I got on one panel and I asked this question and people kind of laughed. And I said that all of this talk about relationships and dating advice, I don't hear anything about love. Where does love fit in, if it does anymore? You will not hear that. Women going off having babies by different baby daddies, bringing about what they call as the single parent epidemic, the baby mama epidemic. I never hear anything about love, because if I did hear love, you would be with the same partner. You would get together with a man who you would love and have a baby who you would love. And the mere fact that you're having babies out of wedlock, and I'm saying babies, plural, shows that you don't love your child. Because to bring your child up in a single parent household, knowing that the child will struggle throughout his entire life and never have a male figure to emulate, that shows you don't love the child. Shows you only love yourself. I spoke to this one girl that I was very infatuated with, and we were talking and we were kissing and everything. And then she told me how she hated kids. She despised kids and babies. And immediately that was a deal breaker for me. I was like, no, that's not. Then we can go nowhere. Then really, if that's how you feel. Now, granted, she was young at the time, so maybe she would grow out of that. But I knew enough to say that there's no future between her and I. Because I'm looking for a family. That's the traditional African Kemetic union, is to bring about a family, a legacy. Especially for a man, he wants his seed to continue. He wants his legacy to continue. So for this young Latina, it was like it wasn't going to happen then. But there is just this, you see, not only is there a lack of love, there's a fostering of egotism and selfishness in the African American community. It's been placed there by social engineering through what we may call epigenetics. We have been bred to be selfish, bred to be egotistical. Especially with the music from the Beyonce and all that, teaching women to be independent and to not want a man and to be selfish and to raise babies on your own. They did the statistics and they said that a large majority of the people, the Black men that are in prison, come from single parent households. So why would you want to add to that statistic? Because you see, there is an absence of love. See, one of the reasons in ancient culture that your parents were and the community as a whole were involved in helping you to pick a mate, because they know you as a young girl or young man your frontal lobe wasn't developed fully, so you wouldn't pick a mate that would be helpful to you and the family. You'd pick a mate, the selfishness, because the mate made you feel a certain way. But you would not look at the broader implications. This is why the extended family would be involved in helping you to pick a mate. And they would have to sanction that mate. And that mate, especially for a man, who would have to bring the dowry to show that he was financially capable of taking care of that woman, or women as in polygamy. He would offer the dowry. The father would then allow the young girl to give her get married to the young man, and also what was involved in that was nation building. You see, because when these two families come together, they're building nations, they're building empires. That's the way they look at it. And now what we're doing is people are getting together just based on emotionalism, having kids out of wedlock. And the kids, it can't be raised properly. So they go on the streets and they're shooting each other up, calling each other names. And there's anarchy. There's anarchy because there's no love. This is a foreign concept, a very foreign concept. The thing, one of the things I learned early on when I was studying in priesthood, and also when I went out on my own to study and teach or coach, being a dating coach, was that there are buttons that you can push that will turn on the attraction mechanism. And there are buttons that you can push that will turn off the attraction mechanism. And when I learned that, I realized it all boiled down to biology. It all boiled down to what we call was subcommunication. You see, if you want to, for men, the best way to get a girl not interested in you is to show that you're interested in her. The best way to get her interested in you is to be pre-select. What does that mean? That you have other girls around you. And then when she sees that you have these girls around you, that means you're pre-select. And that's an old biological thing that happened in very, very primitive times. I don't even want to use that word primitive, but just say back in antiquity. It was easier for a woman to choose a mate when she knew that other women wanted that mate. That means he had the desired qualities. So she wouldn't have to go through all of this testing and to see if he was worthy of her love. When other women wanted him, she knew through pre-selection that she could get with him. Keep that in mind. Think about that. However, if you go and you let a woman know you have interest in her right away, then that means to her, number one, you're not pre-select. And that means that you don't have any status. And the fact that you just picked her quickly and told her. Think about that. Another thing is when you engage each other in a long period of eye contact, that builds rapport, that builds attraction. It's a biological thing. Try staring at a guy or a girl for a length of time and watch you build attraction. And the best way for a guy to make sure that the girl stays interested in him is not to be available. Keep himself busy. Don't always answer her calls. Scarcity. And it's not that the best looking guys always win. It's the best ideology, the best thinking. Because again, there are buttons that we can push to turn on attraction. Women become attracted to a guy, they become attracted to a guy who's not always readily available, who doesn't bend to their will. There's a great movie called Big Trouble in Little China. You should see that film. Check it out. It stars, who's in that film? Is it Kurt Russell is in the film? At the end of the film, the girl wants to kiss him for saving her. And he doesn't kiss her. He gets into his semi and just says goodbye and goes along. And she's just standing there, awestruck, which just built more attraction because he forgoed the kiss, showing that he didn't care. And when a guy does that, it just makes him more attractive to the woman. Because in her mind, he must have other women. And he's not sweating her because he can get other women. That's a button. That's pushing the button of attraction. Another thing, which is a general attraction, is femininity. Guys are attracted to a feminine woman, especially an ultra feminine woman. But see, the ruling elite has made it so that many Black women have forgo their femininity to be rough, to be loud, to call themselves strong. You're not realizing that you're doing that at the behest of the ruling elite to make you unattractive to your men. See, this whole thing, when they talk about 80% of Black women are overweight and 80% of the 80% are obese. You see, this has been done by the ruling elite to make you as unattractive and unappealing as possible because they don't want the population to grow. They want you to think that you can raise your child by yourself, that you can be strong, independent. So you can create these monsters who go on the streets and shoot each other, who are emotional, who are sensitive, because they have no male role model to show strength, reserve, respect for authority. You've been set up, you've been had. And now, as we're on the subject, we got to get deeper into this. Because originally when I talked about those two families getting together, and you have the young girl saying, but I don't love him. Why must I marry him? You see, the elders and the ancestors knew something very important. And I advise everyone, if you want to know that secret too, is to get this book by Ra'u Nafa Amen called African Guide to a Spiritual Union. This book is phenomenal. It's going to break ground on some secrets. You see, what our ancestors knew was that you could turn on the attraction mechanism. You can turn on the joy mechanism. See, these things that we call joy and attractions are nothing more than switches you can switch on. You can know why? Because you have a free will. And through the process of meditation or hypnosis, you can train the mind to like something it normally didn't like. So if I don't like going to the gym, I can train the mind to enjoy the gym, to really have fun at the gym. Because the original state of who I am is unconditioned, meaning I have no propensities to like or dislike something. Your will is free. You don't hate anything. You don't love anything. You can cultivate these things through meditation and trance. So our ancestors knew, and they would say, well, you will grow to love him, which basically means that you will eventually turn the attraction mechanism on. If you do your meditations and you see yourself joyful in that situation where you erroneously assigned a hatred for it. And we also saw unions, couples serving a bigger cause. It's not just about you loving that person, but it's you fulfilling a destiny. For example, my destiny is Ma'at, Ma'ahetep. So what does that mean? Ma'at is the energy of the cold, moist. So Ma'at is love, unconditional love, giving, seeking nothing in return. I give to you because you have a genuine need and I expect nothing in return. I give my love to you and I do not require that you give your love to me. That's almost non-existent today. I love you just because you are. I don't love you because you got a Bugatti. You got a six-figure job. And let me just say that though I love Kevin Samuels to death, and may peace be upon his name, and we miss the brother started a bunch of propaganda that we need to get rid of. No woman is going around asking a guy if he makes six figures. People took what Kevin Samuels was saying and twisted it and make it seem like women are now asking and requiring a guy to make six figures. That's ridiculous. The math has already been done. We know that the majority of the babies that the women are having out of wedlock are not by six-figure guys. They're guys who make under $10,000 a year. So this whole thing that's been started and been perpetuated through this social media gender war nonsense about women asking guys how much money they make and they have to make at least six figures. That's nonsense. When I went to school, the guys that got the girls were the guys that didn't have jobs. They just hung out on the street corner all the time and they had good game, good mouth. And no woman ever went up to him and said, you make six figures or more? No, that's propaganda that they took from Kevin Samuels and twisted it. But I digress. You see, if we understand, and that book I just showed you really details it, that your attraction for someone can be turned on despite what that person does. It can be turned on within you. I had this really challenging situation that happened a little while ago, a couple of Fridays ago, and I knew that my weekend would be hell. But I said to myself, well, actually, it's not going to be hell. It really depends on if I turn on the mechanism of joy. And even though the external situations are bad, within me, I can express joy at meeting those horrible situations. Do you guys, let me explain something to you. People in this new generation are frail. I see people freaking out over nothing. And I'm going to break this down to you. Let me break it down to you. When I was really young, I almost died from asthma attack. They had to put me in a bubble to where I could not have contact with people. You couldn't touch me. I don't know if you guys remember that movie with John Travolta, Boy in the Bubble, which was based on a true story. But I was in that bubble. And I had people coming to visit me. And the prognosis was not good. So my family, entire family, from all across the country came to me. And I don't even know how old I was at the time. I probably was maybe 5 years old. And I survived that. Not too many years after that, I had a lung collapse, was hospitalized in intensive care. The prognosis wasn't good. I survived that. I caught some type of skin rash or thing that it messed up my entire skin and drove me nuts itching. I survived that. Had this disease hit me, had to go in for major surgery. After surgery, I was in tremendous pain. I survived that. In the military and the martial arts, broke a rib, broke a wrist. I survived that. And every time, and people were so shocked. I was just joyful. I was just optimistic. That's my art. My art is optimistic. I never was gloomy, like, oh, everything's doomsday. Because I knew how to turn on that joy. I knew how to have inner peace. Now everybody freaks out if the ice cream man gives them the wrong flavor. Brothers freaking out because they can't get a record contract. Really? Brothers who are 50 years old trying to get a record contract. Really? What's wrong with you? So sad. Because we're taught to embellish, to be consumers, to get emotional, because they are slowly moving us toward a satanic future where we worship Satan. Now, let me go to this point about the non-binary person. You see, they're pushing this transgender non-binary thing, even though it's less than 4% of the population, because they have an agenda, is to decrease the population. They don't care really about gay people or non-binary people. They don't care. They don't care about transgenders. They only use you to an end. You see? Because I don't understand how less than 4% of the population, now all of a sudden every movie, every TV show talks about how you must be gay or transgender. Why are they pushing that so much? Why? To decrease the population. That's why. And the test pilot or the canary in the coal mine is the African American community. That's the beta test. And they've been pushing that. This is why some sisters who are already beautiful will do their makeup and they look like trannies. I'll be looking to step up and talk to some sister and she'd be looking like a tranny. I'm like, I don't know, that's a guy or girl. See, the thing is, when you are faced with a transgender person, non-binary person, there are certain aesthetics that rile up the kundalini or the Ra force within you as a male. And these are very subtle, subliminal things. Some are very obvious, like if a woman has an hourglass figure, she has nice breasts, a little bit of a back, booty, not too much. You become attracted to these qualities because we know that if a woman has a bit of a booty, that's where back in Africa where she would store water, like a camel. If she has an hourglass figure, to us it means that she can carry a child. That those hips are good for childbearing. If she has, good breasts, that means that she can nurse a baby. Those are all biological. There's nothing perverted about that, as the Christians want to say. You're programmed to check for those things as a male. And as a female, you're programmed to check for dominance in the alpha male so that he can protect you. So this whole thing of toxic masculinity, you're subverting God's law. This whole thing when you're getting men to look like women or neither, you're subverting God's law, because God, through nature, through Isis, created these aesthetics so that we can select a proper mate. There's a reason why if a woman's boyfriend gets into a fight and he wins the fight, he's going to get sex when he gets home with that woman. That turned her on. And let me give you an example here. I don't know if you guys watched the film, the show Farscape. I used to watch it, and this is one of the women who was on the show. She signed this for me. But anyway, the point I want to make to you is that when you see a bathing suit, and typically this is not exactly right, but the definition here, as you see, is it comes in the shape of a smile. This is smiling. So men walking on a beach or pool, and they see this bathing suit, the outline, which usually is up here a little bit and then comes down and over here, it's the shape of a smile. That is inviting. That is attractive for men. And the bathing suit companies know it, and they create that on purpose. Just like the front of the cars, in front of your car, if you go look at it, the lights and the bumper form a smile. If you go to take a look at watches, they're all set for 10 after 10, a smile. Subliminal stuff. So God has done this through nature, through a set. But then they're trying to tell you that these things are toxic and these things are wrong. They're not wrong and they're not toxic. Little boys who are aggressive and destructive are that way for a reason. Because those little boys are training. Training to defend themselves, training to fight when necessary. So the ruling elite set this all up. So they tell you that, oh, it's toxic masculinity is bad. That's what they're trying to get you to think. In the same way they try to get you to think that you should be an independent woman. Just like this new movie, Barbie. It's propaganda, it's sick, it's garbage. It teaches this radical feminist ideology that women are better than men. You see that there's no coming together. It's either one is right and one is wrong. These people are psychopathic in their thinking. They can't just see two elements working together. They can't make a movie about a woman who stands on her own. They've got to vilify men, especially white men. And white men are getting sick of it. You keep pushing this leftist narrative, and this is why you have people like Donald Trump get in office, because the country is sick of this stuff. The country is tired of it. And we need people to stop being sheeple and to think for themselves. You're so concerned about being an independent woman, you should be thinking about raising a family. This is what Africa was about, family structure. You should be thinking about falling in love or loving someone and what that really means, instead of running around having babies by different men. You should be understanding that you can turn on the attraction mechanism, that you don't have to have a man or a woman that's perfect, because there is no such thing as perfect. You keep searching for that perfection and see where it gets you. Oh, he's got to be 6 feet tall, six-pack abs. Yeah, you keep doing that and seeing where you get. You'll be home, a bunch of cats, at 70 years old. I remember when I was teaching dating, and I was very good at it, but I made it very clear to students, I say, I'll teach you how to go pick up women or pick up men, but I want you to know you can't do this forever. This is just to help you get out of that shy, enclosed bubble you've created for yourself. But I'm going to be honest with you, you're going to have to learn to be social, to start a family. This whole thing about MGTOW talking about be a monk, don't get involved with women. That's not what you're supposed to do. God didn't tell you to go be a monk. And if that is your calling, then that's an individual thing. That's not for the collective. Do you understand? Just like you're not supposed to have a nation of gay people, because you can't procreate. There'd be no future population. So there are certain things that you can't promote on a wide scale basis because it's detrimental. I may go out there and date different women of different backgrounds, nationality, of different races. But if I'm going to do a movie, I'm going to do a movie that's me and a Black woman, because I know that that's important to promote. That's important for young children to see on screen. And there's nothing more wonderful than a young child to see his mother and his father in love. But you have the Illuminati, the ruling elite, trying to destroy that. They have been trying to destroy Black love since day one, which is why they sold the family in slavery, broke the family up, sold them off. You had a daughter, you would never see her again. And if you did see her, the slave master would be raping her. Can you imagine the horror of that? Your daughter being raped by a slave master and you could do nothing? I know for me, I would go Nat Turner. I would go crazy and start killing those slave owners one by one by one. But I would do it ninja style, though. I'd be very careful. Very, very careful. And we also have to keep in mind that the fairy tale that we see in the movies, that's a Western mindset. That's not for our culture. White women have a particular way they see their lives and how they're brought up. Black women have a particular way they see their lives and the way they're brought up. The two are not compatible. They're different. And we can just start by the economic disparity. White women make more money than Black women by far. That's the racial wealth gap. And white men make tons more money than Black men. So you can't expect a Black man to be your Prince Charming, to be your Bill Gates, to be your Elon Musk. He may not have it like that, because a lot of Black men are kept from competing in a global marketplace, meaning they're kept from being successful entrepreneurs. email. Exactly. They rape their sons. Imagine seeing your son raped by the slave master, or your father being raped. That's called buck breaking. It's terrible. Terrible. And then they have the audacity to say, oh, do you deserve reparations? Yeah, because my father was raped. My mother was raped. My sister sold into slavery. You're damn right I deserve reparations for what you sick bastards did. Well, I wasn't, I wasn't back then in slavery. Yeah, but your ancestors were. And you benefited off that. This is why you're living on Madison Avenue. I was dating this Asian girl, and she had an apartment on Madison Avenue. And I had to travel from the South Bronx to pick her up to go to the movies and go out. And I was like, damn, what did your father do? How do you guys? And I would go, go into her apartment. And it's really nice. I'm talking on Madison Avenue. So I can't begin to say, I would say at least the apartment was probably cost $1 million. And I was just in awestruck. Like, how could you, like, and there was a language barrier. So I couldn't get too deep into like what her father did and stuff like that. But she was here studying. She was really cool too. She laughed a lot. Japanese girls giggle a lot. It's funny. It's cute too. um, but I digress. This is the way I talk. It's a cultural thing. So you can't expect your partner to be this Western love story, Prince Charming, Cinderella story. You can't expect all of that. But you can expect love. I had this thing for this young girl named Tina when I was in the military, and Tina had a thing for me. And we didn't care that we were both broke. we liked each other. That's all that was important. That was all that was important. And I'm going to tell you, we had the greatest time together. I didn't know at the time Tina was plotting and planning to get me, meaning to get with me. I mean, I had no idea. Back then I was just so not in tune to anything. I had no idea she liked me. Even when she grabbed me by the collar and planted a kiss on me, I still had no clue if the girl liked me or not. I was just, oh, she's just kidding around. No, 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 no. No, she's not kidding. She woke up to that fact. No, I did wake up to the fact, but it took a while. I think that was her extreme in frustration. She said, he's not getting it. I got to just plant one on him. When I was studying with one of the most noted Egyptologists in the world, Dr. Ben Jamaikanen, and one of the most knowledgeable men of African civilization, Dr. John Henry Clark. I am saddened by the fact that their legacy has not lived on. All the teachings that they gave, all the books they left behind. And to this day, if I were to ask the common Black person online at McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's or Chick-fil-A, do you know Dr. Ben Jamaikanen? They'll say no. Do you know Dr. John Henry Clark? They would say no. And that's so sad. because I felt like all my time spent with them may have been wasted. Because the ruling elite has done their job of deconstructing our heroes, our sheroes, our culture, our way of life. And what they're trying to put in place is a one-size-fits-all culture where you have to fit into white society. If you don't have the Eurocentric ideology, then something's wrong with you. This is why I'm so glad there are still African nations. I think it was Nigeria, was it? Or that said that, no, we don't buy into homosexuality. We don't buy into that. That's a sovereign nation. You cannot dictate to them what they should be buying into and what they shouldn't be buying into, what culture they should accept or what culture they should not accept. If their culture doesn't accept that, leave them alone. I don't agree with certain Muslims who cover their women up from head to toe like a ninja. I don't agree with that. But I'm not over there telling them that they're wrong. I leave them alone. And if the women wanted to change, let them work that out. If the women enjoy it, then fine. But I'm not going to impose my framework upon them. No, that's not right. So I choose to rebel in every way, shape, or form. Rebel to this society's ideology, its sick, perverted perspective, its attempt to indoctrinate us into all trying to be gay. And you know, I have not said anything negative about them. They can live their life. They can do what they want. They're free adults. You can do whatever you want in your bedroom. But don't push that on me, and don't push that on our children. I don't go out knocking on your door and say, hey, I'm Mr. Straight, and you gay folks need to be straight too. I'm straight and I'm proud. No, I don't do that. I don't go knocking on the door of Christians and say, I'm Kemetic. You need to be Kemetic. Why don't you be Kemetic? No, I ain't going to do that. I don't proselytize like that. Because that gets nowhere. When we don't understand relationships and how to fall in love with each other, then we can't really love our fellow man because we don't understand what love is. It's compassion. It's sacrifice. We don't understand it. This is why many of us can go out there and do horrific things because we were never taught to love. We've never seen love. Every male out there needs to have a set of principles that they live by. Whether it be the 42 admonitions to the goddess Ma'at, whether it be just some personal stuff you've read from Lao Tse or The Art of War, you need to adapt a personal ideology that tethers you to your ancestry. Mine is the Kemetic spiritual tradition. Because once you hold on to those principles and you follow those doctrines, then the ruling elite can't win. But they want you to abandon that so that you can join the collective, the Borg mentality. Because many of us just regurgitate and follow what's popular. But we don't really think about the implications of it, the bigger picture, which is the right brain, holistically. How does that fit in with the whole? And is it life affirming? We're not taught to think right brained. We're taught to think left brain, which is segregated, separates, labels, defines, and creates confusion. Such as there are 133 genders or whatever there is now. That's just separating, labeling, defining, and confusing. That's just looking for how things are different instead of looking for how things are alike, which is what the whole brain does, the right brain does. How are things alike? How are we alike? Let's start from the basis of that to build upon relationships. How are we alike? Not the popular notion of how we are dislike or unalike. We have been polarizing left brain thinking for a reason and done on purpose. The left brain thinking is concrete. It's superficial thinking. This is why Christians walk around and actually believe that shit in the Bible. They're being polarized in left brain thinking, which is why right brain thinkers can read the Bible and understand that's nothing but metaphors. You understand? Two different sets of thinking. But the left and right brains were meant to merge and work together. And that's when you have super learning, accelerated learning, geniuses like Nikola Tesla, Einstein, Copernicus. That's why these men were geniuses, and women, because they thought with both the left and the right hemisphere of the brain. But you want to go to the universities, you want to idolize their way of thinking, which has put the world in so much destructiveness. I did some study in the war, and I could not believe how violent, how psychopathic the Greeks and the Romans were. My God. We have gone through some sick times on this planet, massacring, wiping out people. Genghis Khan wiping out millions of people. Christians killing massive amounts of people. How do you get away with that when you're supposed to say your religion is the best and your way of life is the best and your God is the best, Jesus, and yet you are slaughtering people, slaughtering them, and then doing sick, perverted things with their bodies, like cutting off Native Americans' head, decapitating them, and then playing football with the heads or soccer? How do you justify that? That actually occurred. How do you justify that? How do you justify this love in your God you call Jesus, and you're slaughtering people like left and right? Oh, I forgot Manifest Destiny. How do you account for the witch trials? How do you account for the Dark Ages? How do you account for the Roman Colosseums where they're feeding people to lions? Sick nature of these people, these leaders. Caligula, Nero, Alexander, the so-called great. My God, these people were psychos. Yet in history books, you read about their greatness. Nero was a sick leader. As an emperor, he would take women and strip them naked and put them ahead of his chariot and whip them so they would run and pull his chariot. My God. He would dress up as a woman and go to brothels. Caligula was so psychopathic, he appointed his horse as a senator, and then sent his troops to battle the ocean. And I guess he's trying to fight Poseidon. I don't know what he was doing, but he was psycho. Caligula would interrupt weddings, take the bride and have sex with the bride on the wedding night, then marry her, and then after that say, you can't have sex with anybody else. Leaving the groom like devastated. This is the history. These Greek philosophers having sexual intercourse with young boys. But they had democracy. And we learned democracy from them. Or how to form a true republic. You think that these CEOs today don't mirror that? They're just as sick. They're just as sick. And they're going for your kids. They want your kids. And they're not going to get them because we are going to stop them. You don't touch my kid if I had one. And this movie, The Sound of Freedom, is it's good that they made a movie about it, but this situation has been going on a while. And what have people been doing? Have they been sleeping on this issue? This thing has been going on for such a while. I love it when Hollywood suddenly gets wise and acts like the whole diversity thing. They're like, oh, we're not diverse. But what were you doing before that? You were racially discriminating, weren't you? So that's nothing to be proud of. And these little waves of enlightenment don't last long. Look at Jada Pinkett Smith. She's like, because her husband didn't get an Oscar, she's talking about, we got to boycott Hollywood. We got to start our own thing. But then when her husband got an Oscar, Will got an Oscar, now she's not talking that language anymore, is she? Nothing about how we got to start our own Hollywood. And I love it how Hollywood keeps secret all the sexual perversions out there. You know who I'm talking about? Sean Puffy Combs. Because these Hollywood stars don't know what love is either. See, they get married or they get into fake relationships because it keeps them in the spotlight. It keeps them famous. I want you to rise up, my beloved. I want you to join the revolution. And all it entails that you do is you first love yourself and that you adopt that personal ideology I talked about before. Maybe you're into Buddhism, maybe you're into Hinduism. Then follow that. But don't follow this mainstream European, Eurocentric ideology, which is leading people towards Satanism and a one world government. That's where it's leading people to. You see, you brothers who all you want is a record deal. You're idiots. You're a bunch of idiots. Because that record deal comes at a price. You see, I've always talked about how you have to give up your booty. You think that these top rappers who you want to be like aren't sleeping with the producers? Men sleeping with men? You think that's not happening? And you think that you can get to the top without having to do that? Now, there was a documentary that was talking about this, that allegedly that when you get to a high level in Hollywood, they're going to force you to sleep with children. I want you to think about these things. If you don't play ball, they come after you. Just ask Bill Cosby. They killed his son and they went after him. Them some mean people, man. He decided not to play ball, and they said, all right, we're going to take your son out. And then we're going to put you in jail. We're going to get women to lie about you. And all of this stuff that he did was giving money to HBCUs and putting people through college. You forgot all about that. People don't care because now he's a predator. This man has stood up and talked positive about Black people. This man has promoted Black family. And when these allegations come out, which are just ridiculous, and they should have been subject to the statute of limitations, which they were, but they still open those files. You people want to now throw him away. I was talking about this the other day, how I was out this jazz club, and it was in the west side of Manhattan. I forgot the name of this. I think it's called a Blue Note. Yeah, that's what it is, the Blue Note. And I'm standing there. I think I was waiting for my date, or I don't know what was going on. And this man in back of me kept bumping me. And I was like, no big deal. I think it was it raining? Yeah, I think it was kind of raining because I was standing under the big umbrella thing. And I think I was looking around to see if my date had showed up, and the man behind me kept bumping me. So finally, I just turned to see who this guy was. And lo and behold, it was Bill Cosby. And he looks right at me, had a cigar in his hand. He goes, how you doing, young man? I said, oh, hey, how's it going, Bill? And he's just standing there casually. And I'm like, wow. And no one notices this is Bill Cosby just standing right in back of me. That was kind of cool. That was interesting. But this is when this is years, this had to be like 1989, I think it was when it happened. because he wasn't blind. He was very fit, very, really cool guy. And I think that's when the Cosbys were still running. Um, but I want you to be aware of when you're getting into this music industry, film industry, what you're in store for. There's a movie you should check out. It's an old movie. It's kind of corny, but check it out, called Oh God, Book 2, in which a magician makes a deal with a musician makes a deal with the devil, played by George Burns. And the devil goes, I'm going to give you the best music career of you'll ever have. You want women? I'll give you women. You want to tour the world? I'll give you a tour the world. You want money? I'll give you money. You want sex? I'll give you sex. Just sign here. And he signs there and he gets it all and doesn't like it and can't get out the deal. And that was like, I got you for life and the hereafter. You're not getting out of this. He goes, but I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be rich. And then then God has to bail him out, which is also played by George Burns. It's the sequel to Oh God, which was a great movie. Yep, Maharu, it was an excellent movie. George Burns, again, plays two characters. He plays God and he plays the devil. And as God, he warned the magician not to sign that contract. But he signed it anyway. Oh, that's nice. That's a nice logo. Maharu, that's good. Maharu, true of heart. That's what it means. So we don't take that into consideration when we're all out there trying to get record deals, to understand what it takes. I have never ever said that, hey, you know what? As a filmmaker, I want to be the top. I want to be like Steven Spielberg. I've always said, as long as my bills are paid and I can finance my films, I am happy. I don't have to be James Cameron, George Lucas, although I would like to be, but I don't have to be that. Just give me the money to finance my films and I'll be happy. You know what I mean? Because all that glitters is not gold. Be careful what you wish for. You may get it. So we have to look at what's happening. And the reason I get so despondent and upset about my training with Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark, realizing that none of that information is carried over in today's culture, because it is the one thing that can save us. You see, the Chinese will never relinquish their culture. Indians would never relinquish Hinduism. China would never give up the I Ching, or the art of war. But we readily give up our stuff. We don't know anything. You see, I'm not taking anything away from these men, but these men weren't as great as we think they are. Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. They were great men, but they weren't Imhotep. See, Imhotep left a legacy. Malcolm X did not leave behind written books for us to follow. Neither did Marcus Garvey. Great works of philosophy. No, they didn't. No, I'm not saying that these men weren't great, but I'm saying they didn't leave things behind for us to follow. But our Kemetic ancestors did. Queen T, Hatshepsut, Imhotep. These people left things behind for us to read and to live a certain way of life. But we haven't embraced that. We'll crowd a church on a Sunday and listen to something that's not ours. At one point it was, but it's been twisted, rewritten to the point of where it preaches anti-Black life. Teaches how evil Egypt was, how there is only one God, nonsense like that. And we packed the church. We gotta listen to that minister who's nothing but a fraud. That's right, TD Jakes. That's right, Creflo Dollar. You're frauds. Misleading the people, taking their money, buying jets and vacation homes. You men are so frauds. And we need to come for you. We need to come for you. This is why I'm saying join me. Join me in this revolution to take these people out by first loving yourself and then having your own personal ideology you follow by, not their bullshit. TD Jakes, he teaches so much shit. When I go to his sermons, I got to bring a shovel. Same with Creflo Dollar. And what's that other white man's name? What's that guy's name? I forgot his name. He's one of the worst of them too. Damn, what's his name? Let me Google his name. I'm glad I don't remember because he's not important. Joel Olson. Man, all these guys are Billy Graham. These people are terrible. And what makes them evil is you. Oh, thank you, Makaru. What makes them evil is you. Because you support them. They couldn't be in the position that they are if you didn't support them. They couldn't be doing the things that they're doing if you didn't support them. So you're just as evil as they are when you show up on a Sunday to tithe for them, to put money in the tithing box or donate. Because just think of King Leopold and the destruction of the people and what he did to them in the Congo. 12 million Congolese people murdered under King Leopold. He would cut their arms and legs off, hang them if they didn't make their quotas. I can't talk about that. I'll get too emotional over that. This man was a mass murderer, and you can be assured he is in hell. I couldn't do these things. I couldn't be some sick, twisted dictator. I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid of the afterlife because I've been there. I'm too afraid I'm too afraid to kill one person, let alone wipe out 12 million people. I can just imagine me as like Hitler, and them bringing the orders, and them saying, "We're gonna put the Jews in these ovens." I'm like, okay, now wait a minute, wait. Do we have to put them in the ovens? I mean, couldn't we give them like meals and bedding? And why do we have to put them in the ovens? My Führer, this is what we must do for the love of the father country or Germany or whatever. Okay, yeah, another thing about that, right? Can't we call it the motherland? And do we need to burn books and kill people? Why can't we just say we did but don't? That's what I'd be doing. See, this whole killing thing is passe. You know, hey, I got it. Won't we kill bad people? Yeah. Okay, so let's make a list of all of our Nazi people who have already killed people, and let's kill them. How about that? That'd be a change, right? You know, and that way we won't have to put these Jews in concentration camps. We could just let them go free and give them some type of reparations and money and say, hey, you're free. You can go build. Here's some land for you too. I'd be a terrible dictator. I couldn't be Stalin, I'd be like, oh, tanks, missiles. Do we really have to build tanks and missiles? How do we have a beauty contest? I'd be like, the best woman, yeah, the beautiful woman, beautiful contest. And let's not build any more tanks and missiles and stuff like that. We don't need to do that, yeah, let's not do that. They would have to there'd be a coup d'etat against me, man. They'd be like, we gotta get rid of him. He's not a good dictator. I'm like, wait, you don't like women? What's wrong with women? You don't want to have a beauty contest? Yeah, I would be messed. I wouldn't do it right at all, But you look at Genghis Khan and King Leopold. Oh my God, these people just murdered millions. Why? If we could, I just had a crazy thought here, right? If we could create video games where you can murder people and kill, which they already exist, and send that back in time to these dictators and say, listen, instead of murdering people, check this out. You can do it with a video game. That's why no one really gets hurt. I mean, really? Yeah. And it looks lifelike too. Check it out. Play it. I bet that would really quench their murderous thirst, But this sick psychopathic mentality exists today in our own leaders, in our own government. And they would do the exact same thing, except there's a measure of checks and balances. But if those checks and balances were removed, you damn sure they will be instituting martial law, murdering and killing people. Because external laws don't change internal mindset. It doesn't. If you are a sick person, no law is going to change that fact. If you are a serial killer, no law on the books is going to change the fact that you're a serial killer. You're sick. And you need to be watched closely. And another thing, I don't like it when they talk about how, when they do acknowledge the fact that the world has a history of savage and murderous behavior, don't lump us African people into that. Don't lump us, peaceful people into that, Native Americans and so forth. We have not been a part of that murderous attitude that go and conquest every continent. We have not been part of that. So when you talk about the humans being barbaric and uncivilized, that's not us. So don't include us in that. You have been murderous and barbaric, not us. And for evidence of this, I direct you to Africa and how the conglomerate of nations, including the European Union and all of those, have raped and pillaged Africa of her natural resources. Africa didn't put themselves in poverty. They didn't do that. That came through external colonialization. That came through the forcibly accepting Christian religion, Islam, Catholicism. We never just accepted those religions. Those were forced upon us. We didn't ship ourselves out to different nations to be slaves in Brazil, United States, UK. We didn't just do that. Jamaica, Haiti. We didn't do that to ourselves. I'm just thinking about shackling myself and throwing myself on this slave ship where I'm going to be sent to Jamaica to work the sugarcane fields. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that to myself. Yeah. And you have these ridiculous white people talk about, why can't you people get your act together? We could have if you didn't send warships and people into our continent to murder, maim, and kill and rape and pillage. We could have. If you didn't do that, we could have been wealthy if the king and queen didn't come in and take all our gold and fetishes and take those fetishes and put them in museums. We could have been very wealthy. I mean, we did have the most wealthy man alive, Mansa Musa, the wealthiest man alive. So we did have wealth at one point. It just was taken from us when you raped our wives and raped our husbands and you raped the babies and you separated the family and you destroyed our language and our culture. Yeah, we could have had those things just like you. If you want to say, why can't you people get your act together? I'm going to say right back to you, white man. Why can't you get your act together and stop killing people? Every time I turn around, there's a war in Ukraine. You people just have a thirst for killing. Look at Napoleon. Look at Stalin. Look at Hitler. What is it with you with this killing thing? You just got to kill. You just got to murder. Let's put the world on pause while you ponder that for a moment and think about that. Why is it that you people like to kill? Why is it you people like to subjugate? Why is that you people force your religion on other people and force your way of life? Force. Be gay. Be part of the U.S. military. Be a patriot. Be a capitalist. It's the only way. Kill, 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 kill. That's our motto. Join the military so we can go overseas and send you to a fictitious war where you're killing people for no apparent reason but to take their money and bankrupt their World Bank or their nation's bank, I should say. Well, our politicians are corrupt and are doing things behind closed doors to make sure that the poor stay poor and the politicians stay richer, and they enact policies that don't help you whatsoever. Just ask yourself, what has Biden and Kamala Harris really done while in office for these 3 years? Is it? What have they really done? Not a fucking thing. Not a damn thing. And you idiots keep voting year after year as if something's going to change. The system is rigged. No matter who you vote for, you lose. Get with it and figure it out. So slow. How can you be so slow? I hip to this game a while ago. I said, I'm not going to be part of this political bullcrap. And they were saying, but our ancestors, they died for your right to vote. I said, no, they didn't. And my voting will in no way suddenly change the landscape. Okay? Let's understand that. But we can enact the Maharishi effect, which is getting together and meditating as a collective to change things. To change things. Oh, by the way, I've learned something too. Officially now, you can refer to me as non-binary because, and I also identify as white. So when you see me on my broadcast, I will, please refer to me as Mr. White Man. I also will go by the name Daman, Daman. All right. So, please respect my wishes. You must refer to me as the man or Mr. White Man. And I'm not male or female. I'm non-binary. So I want you to respect that, all right? And you will use my pronouns, they, them. Remember that, they, them, okay? If you get it wrong, I am going to ban you from my channel. I am not kidding. I am not kidding. So please respect my pronouns. Please respect my wishes. And as such, I'm going to take my ass down to the bank and get me a loan because they give loans to white men very readily, especially for businesses. And along with that, I am going to get me a white girl so I can especially get a mortgage loan so we can buy a nice fancy house. So please don't forget that. You know what I mean? And if you see me producing films with no black people in it, well, that's what us white men do. Okay. So understand that, The one thing I do admire that the white culture, especially in Hollywood, still has intact is an understanding of how movies have to have the idea of love. And you will see that in the movies. And it's very important that we don't foster and promote this gender strife. You understand what I mean? Because that was created by the oligarchy. Just keep that in mind. And I want you to understand that all of this that we're talking about in terms of the music industry, the film industry, Hollywood, is all run by occult practices For the example of this, I direct you to Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. All of this is run by occult magical power. They're occultists. You think, let me break it to you, all right? I should have brought some water. What's in here? But you see, Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, they're appointed by the ruling elite. They are occultists. Megan Thee Stallion, they're occultists. They wouldn't be there if they weren't pre-selected. They didn't get there because they had good vocals, good rhyme, good rhythm, good lyrics. They got there because the ruling elite chose them to be there. Just the same way YouTube picks people to make millionaires. That's right, I said it. Mr. Beast was picked by YouTube. This is why he's like a multi-millionaire. I think he probably is a billionaire. He was pre-selected, and they promoted his videos above all others. I came out to Las Vegas with another guy. I didn't forget his name. I'm not going to mention his name, but he was into spiritualism and the occult, and I knew him. We came out to Las Vegas together. He's white, by the way. He started his YouTube channel. I started my YouTube channel. His channel, well, actually, I started before him. I had a 2-year head start on him. So we both came out to Las Vegas. Within a year and a half in Las Vegas, he got 1 million subscribers. Didn't know much about the occult and spirituality. He was reading, that's why I'm not going to say his name. He was reading books and regurgitating what he read. And he often made lots of mistakes. And I saw how his channel blew up, and I was like, well, how is that even possible when I had a 2-year start on him? And then I read some stuff where these YouTubers, black YouTubers, were trying to do a class action suit against YouTube for not pushing their channels. And I was like, oh, that's what it's all about. YouTube is into that racism game. I'm like, oh my God. It's just ridiculous. And then now my friend, he has a mansion. He invited me out there. I never went. I was like, I don't want to go out to your mansion, dude. Like, why? And the reason and the way he got that together was he formed a partnership with another YouTuber, and they got that mansion. He's a nice guy. There's no doubt about that. But there are certain things that white boys are afforded that black boys aren't. This is why we have to make sure that we look out for our own and we don't fall victim to fighting within the family. You know what I mean? This is why on my channel, even there are certain other people I am not, let's say, good friends with, I never really get into calling anybody out unless they're doing something extremely bad. So I don't like name call or get into the whole beefing on my channel. I try not to do that, And too many of us are running our channels in that way because we know that there's something about black people. See, when you discover the algorithm, you can do well on YouTube. When you know that black people like drama, and you have a channel that's based on drama, based on you taking shots at other YouTubers and manufacturing drama, your subscriber count will go up and your popularity will go up. But I have refused to engage in that. Refused. Because when I go to the oracle of the I Ching, it says don't get into that. And I subscribe to the I Ching, the Meduna Ter Oracle, or Great Oracle of Tahuti, and the Tarot. Because you don't want to shortcut your success in that way. Many people, when I left film school, hit hard times. And they resorted to doing porn films, adult films. I never judged them. I didn't go in that direction. I had no interest. But they had to do what they loved film so much they wanted to stay in film. That was the only work they could get. So I decided just to go to the Kemetic Temple for 12 years and study the Kemetic mystic sciences. And when I was in the Kemetic Temple, I saw people who were hooking up with one another and getting into relationships. And I asked about that. And what they were saying was, and this is very interesting, and which is why I recommend that we all revisit our culture, the Kemetic spiritual tradition. What I realized that they were doing oracle readings on each other to find out if they should get into a relationship with each other. And I started doing that. And it proved to be so successful. Because when you go to the oracle and you ask if you should be in a relationship with someone, and the oracle says, yes, you best be sure that that relationship will work out. But if the oracle says, no, stay away. Now, some people don't like to give up their agency to an oracle, but the oracle is the word of God. And do you love God? If you love God, then you listen to God. I mean, there was something that God told me this Sunday wouldn't work out. And I was like, what the fuck? Yes, God. Okay. And then you calm down and you just accept it and say, okay, yes, God. You put on your Meneben Anka Ma'at, which is your Meneben or being stoic, and you accept it. Okay, there's nothing I can do about this. Let it be. Doesn't mean you're going to let people take advantage of you and roll, but sometimes you just got to say, you know what, I do what I can, but I leave the rest up to God, or leave the rest up to my magic. You know what I mean? But again, there's some of us who are control freaks, and we can't do that. We can't let it go to God or let it go to the universe. Okay, universe, you got this. I'm not going to stress over it anymore. I'm not going to take medications anymore. I'm not going to be putting my hand through the wall anymore. I'm not going to be beating up on my teddy bear anymore. It's in your hands. Especially if issues of love, we are very, very difficult, There's this fine, light-skinned sister, and I wanted to get with her. The oracle came up. I did an oracle reading. It said, dark deceased. Sebektem. And God was saying that, hell no, this ain't going to work out. But I was like, well maybe it could work out. Let me check it out. So we got into a relationship, and it was hell on earth. It was horrible. It was, and then when we broke up, I would go to the same places we used to go to. Starbucks, order my usual, and barista there or whatever would say, where's your girlfriend? We broke up 6 months ago. Stop asking for her. Yeah. I hate when people do that. Everywhere you go, they're like, hey, where's your girlfriend? I told you we broke up a year ago. Stop asking for her. Hey, didn't I see you with that girl all the time? Where is she? Okay, I'm going to say this. Do I need to put out a press release or a memo? Because I'll do that because you guys are not getting the message. Stop asking about her. The one Starbucks gave me 2 drinks because he knew I had one and she had one. And then he realized she wasn't there. That was embarrassing. But you guys were such a cute couple. Well, it didn't work out now, did it? Cute couple be damned. But you both were just like perfect. You both like skinned it and all that. I'm like, yeah, I know. Just didn't work out. The hell with black love. I was bitter. I was a bit bitter at that point. Then the priest brought me into his office and said, we hear you've been a little bit angry lately. You've not been practicing your Meneben Ma'at. No. We told you not to go with that girl, didn't we? Yeah, you did. We told you the oracle said, I know, you told me the oracle said not to get together with her. And I did anyway. You know, my life is messed up. Are you going to listen to the oracle now in the future? Yes, I will. I will listen to the oracle in the future. Can I go now? This is why I don't make a move on any woman unless the oracle sanctions it, unless the oracle says, yes, this will be a good relationship. Even though the oracle says it's going to be a good relationship, it still will take work to make it really, really positive, to make it really happen. Not a lot of work, but just some work. But rest assured, you can say that that relationship will be fruitful, that you can have kids because God has sanctioned it. God has looked into the future and said, oh, this is going to be okay. And the oracles can prevent so many things. You can ask the oracle, should we have children? Should we get married? Should I get into a polygamous relationship? And if the oracle says yes, do it. If it says no, don't do it. Because you live by a set of principles. You don't just go with the flow. You're not a sheeple. Just like a lot of people online attacked me because I said the moon landing was a fraud, that we didn't land on the moon. And they were laughing at me. I said, well, the oracle backs that up. The oracle says we didn't land on the moon. But you know what? In reality, I don't care what you say, because you will do whatever the system tells you to do. You will believe whatever the system tells you to believe. You're in the matrix and you're not looking to get out. So I don't care if 1,000 people say it. If the oracle says no, the oracle means no. And if 1,000 people say yes, you're wrong. Because the oracle is the word of God. And that's who I listen to. Oracle says, don't get into this stock. I stay away. All everybody around me is jumping into the stock. I'm sorry, Bitcoin. Oracle told me stay away. Not everybody running around crying because they lost all their money in Bitcoin. Told you, the oracle said, don't touch it. No. And you women in particular have a problem the way you're selecting your men. You're awful at it. You're awful. For one thing is you select bad men and then you generalize as if all men are like that. And then you say there's no good men out there because you keep picking bad men. You're not even looking at good men. And I know because I'm in contact with good men, and they always talk about how these women always have bad taste in men. This is not rocket science here. You pick bad men. And then you want to cry and say, oh, there's no good men out there. All the good men are in jail and gay. No, they're not. They're everywhere around you. But you're not turned on by these men. Just because these men don't know how to press your buttons. Well, why don't you give them the cheat code? Just tell them what turns you on. Oh, you can't. I forgot, because when the men approach you, you go, he tried to talk to me. No, he not. No, he not. No, sister girl. Step off. Step off. You ain't trying to talk to me. I know you ain't trying to talk to me. That's how you act. That's not a way to get into a relationship. That's your sick ego talking. Because you're too afraid to be feminine and too afraid to be vulnerable. You're too afraid just to say, hi, my name is Keisha. And that's another thing I can get into. I'm not going to talk about that. Keisha, Misha, Jaquan, you naming these kids some really messed up, screwed up names when you could be naming these kids based on the kings and queens that we were. They left behind their names. Imhotep is still out there in the ether. Why aren't children walking around with the name Imhotep? He's a multi-genius. Why aren't kids walking around with the name Helu, a warrior? But yet you're going to call them Jaquan and Rashid. We don't even have naming ceremonies. You give these kids such screwed up names that when they submit their resumes, they get passed over. I know. I used to be a recruiter. I saw how the other recruiters were passing over people's names. I even went to court to try and prove that these recruiters were passing people over because of their names. That's documented. But you go with the group. If the group names their girls Taishisha, Taisha, Tamisha, you're going to do it. If the group says we landed on the moon, you'll believe it. I looked at that footage when I was in college. This had to be back in 1988 when I saw, in that year, that was the first time I saw the moon landing footage. When I looked at that footage, the first thing I said to my friend was, where's the real footage? And I wasn't joking. I was serious. I'm like, that's not the moon footage. That's a sound studio. That's not the real. That's phony. Because I was into film. I was studying special effects. And I knew what I saw was poor special effects. I knew from the get-go. I didn't have to break it down to science and say, well, the way they're walking and it's not G1, so the gravity's off, or I didn't have to break everything down like that. Well, the flag is waving, there's no stars. I didn't break any of it down. I just said I know a sound stage when I see it. I know prop lighting when I see it. I know hot spots when I see it. That is not real. And any good director, James Cameron, Steven Spielberg, will tell you that footage is fake. And we just believe it. You see, when the astronauts go into, what is it, that space station, and they have to do exercises because their bones will wither. Entropy, I mispronounced that, sorry, will set in. And they talked about when they came back down to Earth, how they had a hard time walking and balancing themselves because they spent so much time orbiting the Earth. So you told me Neil Armstrong, he was my uncle, by the way, who landed on the moon, bouncing up and down, stayed there for a number of days, come back down to Earth, and it starts walking on Earth's gravity, G1, without a problem. Just walking with no problem. Dude, if you are up there for any length of time in space, zero gravity, then you go to the moon, and you're bouncing up and down, and then you get back on the capsule, and you come back to Earth, and then you start walking normal? No, it don't work like that. You would be tipping over. You couldn't have your balance proper. You would need help walking because you were in zero gravity, zero G. And here's a little tip for you. The Russians, the head of the Russian space program, this is the head of the Russian space program, said in a interview, he could not find evidence of the United States landing on the moon. He said he requested information on the landing sites from the United States. The United States tell him to stop asking. Now, wouldn't you figure the United States would provide all types of documentation? We have space telescopes that can look into the farthest regions of the universe, that can see galaxies and other planets and other star systems. The telescopes can see the beginning of the universe, but they can't point those telescopes to the moon to show you the moon landing. Isn't that funny? Just point those telescopes to the moon and show us the moon landing. They're so powerful. They're so powerful. Oh, wait, you don't even need to point the telescopes because you have orbiters around the moon, you see? So have those orbiters take photos of the moon landing. And I don't mean those far photos away. I mean precise photos. You know, when you brag about how we have satellites in our orbit that can see a license plates number, well, I want you to use that same technology and shoot down there and show us the moon landings. They left a lot of junk down there, didn't they? They did. They left that rover, didn't it? That moon buggy or whatever you want to call it. So why don't you show us that? Because we didn't go to the moon. Astronauts don't walk out of a space capsule and walk normal. That doesn't make sense. And then they were all asked and interviewed after they landed on the moon, how was it? And they all were like, very lethargic, very serene, not excited. Look at, yo, man, we were on that moon. I was bouncing up and down, and I was looking over here, and I was looking over there, and I saw a little green alien. It was incredible. The most incredible experience. I looked back at the earth and I saw, oh, look at the earth. Look how we're just all one family. Man, I was experiencing the oneness of all. And I was looking down and my shoes were dirty from the moon dust. And it was just so perfect. None of them said anything close to that. They just were like, go look at the footage. They're like, yeah, we went to the moon. Yeah. It was okay. No one talks like that has gone and done this momentous thing, has traveled to a foreign body. No one talks like that. But I digress. So I want us to think about this idea of love, and that when you're hooking up with someone, is it based on love? Or what is it really based on? Lust? Because if we can't really pin that down, that then is going to open the door to a whole host of negative things, which it already has. Because when you can't love, it's over. It's over. And I think that's what's happening to us in our communities, because there is no talk of that. No one's talking about this word, love. Well, when you got with him, did you love him? Do you love him? I don't know. The question is always, I don't know. You know? That's something that's absent from our lexicon. Love. Because you have to rid that out. See, this is how you get people against each other, shooting each other, committing crimes against each other. You remove that love factor. And then you become hypocritical, because then you talk about how much you love God. How can you love God but not love your neighbor? How could you love God but do all kinds of wrecked and messed up stuff behind his back? Doesn't make sense. Well, anyway, if you all get a chance, please donate to the channel. It helps me to make more stuff. I will be coming out with a new ebook. Working on that. You guys will love it. And don't forget to check out my program. It's the 6-Figure PM if you want to get yourself into a better financial situation and level up. Learn to be a project manager and build websites. How's that for you? And let me see if I can get. Let me bring this up real quick. Yes, Lord. Don't forget to sign up to our program, the 6-Figure PM, where you can become a project manager making 6 figures. Go to our website here, and you can peruse the website. And it gives you all the details about the training and the environment you'll be in, which is a very relaxed and artistic environment. You can work from home, which is really great about this. Working from home is excellent. I love it. And you'll be working on creative projects. You're not going to be in that stuffy corporate environment that limits your creativity and limits your input. It's just a wonderful environment to be in. And the training is not that expensive, and we help you with job placement. So check it out. I'll put the link in the description box here as well. Okay, 6-Figure PM. So thank you all. And remember to, again, donate to the channel. Your donations would be appreciated. This is Qesankh Ma'Keperu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. Ma'at is the beautiful goddess Heteru. To the next video, Amen Ra.